It's in this part of England that prepared a young James Cook to join the Royal Navy and become the legendary Captain James Cook, the most important navigator, explorer, mariner ever to venture from these island shores. And that's not a fact up for discussion. He is, and always will be, the most famous and treasured son from Teesside. In order to investigate the youth of Captain Cook, we need to strip back the urban layers of almost 300 years of today's surroundings and imagine the fields, untamed countryside and harsh living conditions facing most of the inhabitants, our very own ancestors. We need to start here at Thornaby Village Green. It's where Grace Pace, Captain Cook's mother, was born and christened in 1702. His father was also called James and had arrived in the area from Scotland in 1715. He was born at Ednam, near Kelso, in 1694. Grace was 23 when she married 31-year-old James Cook Sr. on the 10th of October 1725, here at Stainton Parish Church of St. Peter and St. Paul's. Picture a lot more autumn leaves, but very little would have changed since their wedding day. The couple lived in several locations in Cleveland, as James Sr. worked as a farm labourer. In 1727 they lived at Morton, some farms in Ormsby, when Captain Cook's oldest brother John was born. A year later they'd move again to a small thatched cottage at Marton. On October the 28th, 1728, James Cook Jr. was born into these humble surroundings. This site is marked by a large granite vase which was erected by the man who many people consider to be the co-founder of modern-day Middlesbrough, its first mayor, Henry Bolko, in 1858. The birthplace cottage was demolished in 1786 to make way for Marton Lodge, which again made way for Marton Hall, which made way for the Captain Cook Birthplace Museum, which was opened on October the 28th, 1978 to celebrate Captain Cook's 250th birth. James Cook was baptised on November the 3rd, 1728, here at St Cuthbert's Church in Marton. And if you manage to visit while the church is open, you can view the original baptismal register, a commemorative stained glass window and a stone tablet erected in his honour. Interestingly, the graveyard contains the vault of the other co-founder of Middlesbrough, John Vaughan, a giant in the story of iron ore mined in the Eston Hills. He lies next to his business partner and Captain Cook enthusiast, Henry Bolko. Here in Great Ayton is the Church of All Saints, where the Cook family worshipped. In the graveyard can still be found the grave of Cook's mother, Grace, and 5 of her children. Inside the church is the memorial to Thomas Scotto, the employer of Cook's father and the generous man who paid Cook's school fees to further his education. Cook was educated between 1736 and 1740, so from 8 to 12 years old at the charity school built on this site in Great Ayton in 1704. The building isn't original, it was rebuilt in 1785, an authentic reconstruction of what is an 18th century school. During this time the Cook family lived in Elyholme Farm, which is still a working farm today, with no public access. So even with 300 years of urbanisation, we can get a feel for the young James's early years. Further along the coast we arrive at the charming fishing village of Staithes. It was here a 16-year-old James Cook was employed as an assistant in the general dealer shop in 1745. Thomas Scotto, his father's employer and the man who paid for his school fees, arranged with his friend William Sanderson to employ him in his Church Street shop. Unfortunately, it was dismantled to stop it being washed away in 1812. However, with those materials they were able to build this private dwelling which bears a memorial plaque. After 18 months working here, James moved to Whitby, his final step before he began his naval career. So our heritage trail ends here in this elegant 17th century house in Grape Lane in Whitby, built in 1688 where ship owner John Walker housed his apprentice, 17-year-old James Cook, from 1746 in his attic when not at sea shipping coal from Newcastle to London. He completed his training and studies before voluntary enlisting into the Royal Navy in 1755. There are many local links to Cook once he became famous, and that fame began once he joined the Royal Navy. But for now, today, that story ends here. The opening chapter to the greatest navigator and explorer, Captain James Cook. We're going to ask a couple of locals, is Captain Cook still an important figure to the people of the North East?
Yeah, I think for 2 centuries Cook has put Teesside on the map, and in fact put the whole world on the map. I mean, powered the Industrial Revolution, really opened up the empire.
Yes, I think he is. I mean, I work in school, local school, and we take the children on the visit to the Captain Cook visit. We also go to the Area Home Farm, where he spent some of his time as a child. And it's very important that the children know all the history of Captain Cook and worthy of it.
Captain James Cook, who he himself intended to go not only further than any man has been before, but as far as is possible for a man to go.